Hello again, brothers and sisters. Welcome back to Chats with Jack. I'm Jack Talcott, and today we're going to talk about the ego. That's a word that's used quite a bit, quite a bit, at least from what I've seen. People are starting to at least recognize that there is an existence of an ego, but people don't really know what it means. Um, And today I wanted to kind of toss a couple of ideas for you to consider. But as you consider this, recognize this is probably going to may challenge your beliefs because the ego wants to survive. It wants to maintain control. The ego is the controlling part of you. So the words I say, they trigger the ego. People get reactions and disagreements and imagine all sorts of reasons to disregard what I say. But if you look past your opinions of me, consider the value of the words you hear. And, because I'm sharing my words with gratitude for you, whoever you are, especially those who come and join me today. Um, and I don't know if I'll do a panel or not, but I want to talk about the ego, how it can be your problem or your solution. I'm looking at a note as I was drifting off last night. The thought occurred to me from other inspirations as well. We exist within, who we are is we're the physical body, we're the memories of our past, we are our desires, our fears. So within this realm of our existence in time, in this experience of life together, there's an invisible veil of fear. And I've recognized before that I believe we're born into this realm with an all knowing. There's a connection to us, to the divine, to the infinite mind, the infinite intelligence, and it's all connected from within. But we're born into this realm like a clean slate, right? Veils of ignorance. And as we progress through time, we increase our self awareness, our self control. And as self control grows, well, then maturity is developed. Supposed to be logically in the normal progression of human development, that would be the case. But we live in an insane world. It's not sane, an unsane world where people pick sides in wars, die for money. That's not sane. See, and so the ego can be our problem or our solution because the ego is you. We can fight the ego. There is no fighting the ego. You're fighting yourself. Okay. And when we fight ourselves, when we have conflicts within us, it's because we're refusing to accept the truth that the world has revealed to us. And stop and think about that for a moment, how illogical the human ego can actually be. It thinks it can deny itself from accepting or understanding or learning from that which is real. This may or may not make sense. So from my own experience, when my son's mother chose to move on with her life, apart from the imagined future of a family I had, I refused to accept it. And refusing to accept what is real resulted in blame and imagination and then just unresolvable anger within me. And it wasn't until many years later when I returned to a more spirit guided path. When I started gaining faith in the rooms of AA, it started my spiritual development. Just the story that God created for me. But the veils, the invisible veil of fear, the invisible veil of fear that's in your life, has it held you back? See, because our fears, they may exist within us and we may never even realize we have a fear of a certain thing. I'd never spent any time thinking about the things that recently happened to me over the past few years, the family, the career, and all that stuff. I never spent time thinking that was even possible. So it wasn't a fear I had. But this life, man, this life, it is hats off. You know what? Good game, God. Good game, God. Because see, what I finally came to realize is all of the past, all the history, all the stories, all the myths, all the evidence brought us to today. It took all of eternity to get us to today, to this date, whatever this date is. But the future and right now, it's quite, I know there's a lot of people living different lives than me. There's a lot of suffering in this world. And there's a lot of fear. There's a lot of people trapped in their own fears, in their own confusion, living in the past. And it's not their fault. If that's you and I'm describing you, please don't feel guilt. Feel relief. Feel relief that maybe you've recognized there is a fear holding you back, or maybe there was a problem that you've been ignoring. Brings me to the clip art. Quote from Carl Jung: shadow work is the path of the heart warrior. What is shadow work? Shadow work is going within, into the darkness within you. Shadows. Look for the shadows. Where is your mind clouded and muddied and not peaceful, not filled with inspiration, not filled with gratitude? Where is the light within you? Has it been dimmed? What would it take to renew the light within you? To restore your faith, to restore your fire, to give you clarity in your purpose, to bring you fulfillment in this adventure of your experience? What would it take? Does it take being brought to your knees? Do you have to hit a rock bottom, or can you choose to change and let go? Let go of the choices from the past that maybe aren't serving you today, because that's what the ego does. Our ego, the primitive beast within us, it seeks security, right? It's the hunter-gatherer. It wants to be dominative. It wants to collect, right? But the ego-driven conditioning of this society that allows billionaires to live just down the block from someone sleeping in the streets, well, maybe that's in the penthouses. I'm sure it's true. In a society this immoral and this divided and this conflicted, it's up to us. It's up to us to change it. And the only one who can end the disagreements are the people who choose to disagree instead of understand. See, I'd so much prefer to have conversations with someone about these topics. I recognize I bounce around on my own. If someone does want to come up, we'll play this for a little while. But the idea between the ego is your problem. All of your problems in life are yours. You chose them. You chose to identify them as a problem. And then if you identified the problem and you didn't take actions to resolve the problem or move past the problem, then you're choosing to live with the problem. And so who's to blame? Every one of us created our own problems, karmically, generationally, unintentionally, whatever. It's up to us to accept responsibility for the conditions of our lives, recognize that this life is a gift, and that we are all one. We're all just sharing time, participating and observing and witnessing this time in history. And at the end, you can go through your whole life. You can go through your whole life feeling safe and protected in your invisible veils of fear. And you can lie to yourself and deny the reality of your potential. You can go to the end without your song of your soul being seen. You can do that. But I imagine at the end, I might have to face the maker. And I've imagined the conversation. God says, I saw the state of the world and I thought your vibration, your potential, your energies could bring some light to that world. And so I imagine at the end of my life, when I meet the maker, he might ask you, why didn't you do more? What if God asks you, why didn't you do more while you were there? What is more? What does God want you to do? What do you want you to do? What is your soul guiding you to do? What is your spirit of desire and your inspired imagination? What does that pull you to achieve in this life? Because that's why we're here. The way I see it, an infinite mind imagined us into being. And from the infinite realms of possibilities, we are. And as results of infinite possibilities, we have unlimited possibilities with only our mind's imagined probabilities to follow. I hope that makes sense because I'm trying to speak accurately. But the imagined probabilities of greater experiences, greater love, greater contributions, greater influence into the world and into the future. When you allow those to lead you, man, that's when life becomes fun. I have a someone accepting the invitation, but I think I'm going to keep this short and wrap it up. I do these lives because I don't understand or care to learn the technology to make recordings and uploads. So I'm going to wrap this up. God bless you. Thank you all for sharing your time. I hope you find value in this. When you can face and declutter the shadows within you, when you can brighten and strengthen and ignite that heart within you, you become a heart warrior. And that's what you are, a warrior of love. So choose to live without fear. Break through those veils. And peace for everyone.